Hey everyone, Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone, and you're watching the Super Fantasy Bros podcast. 1 hour of commercial-free podcasting starts now. Enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Super Fantasy Bros podcast. We missed you last week on Thursday. We are glad to be back. Should continue with 2 episodes per week moving forward. And now we're only 17 days away from the start of the NFL season. Just over 2 weeks until football is back. Today we continue our rankings episodes, and today we'll be breaking down our wide receiver rankings to wrap up all of the positions. We'll be going through the top few guys, our biggest discrepancies, some of our favorite targets, and of course, some bold takes at the end. And then wrapping up later with some trivia with Q and some question and answers if anyone has any in the chat. But let's get right into it. Let's get right into some wide receiver talk. And as always, before jumping right into our rankings and where we have guys, got to talk a little bit about our strategy when it comes to drafting wide receivers. When do you consider drafting the first wide receiver off the board?
This year it could be as early as 5. Well,
it could be a
wide receiver can
2.
be. I was gonna say a top 5 pick could be a wide receiver this year.
Yeah, I really wouldn't be mad if someone took a wide receiver number 1 overall.
Me either.
I'd personally take Jonathan Taylor, but like if you want to go that route, go that route. There's going to be running backs that fall back to you there at that point too. So I don't hate it.
Crazy.
I wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't be mad at you.
14 team, pick 4. Jeff?
Chill.
That's my plan.
Pick 3.
4.
I'm taking Jeff.
All right. I'm taking him at 4.
Most drafts, I'm taking Jeff at 3.
It's so scary.
You don't need him. You have T.
I have 2 running backs ahead of him, and then after that, there's some more question marks around a little bit of the other running backs. So give me Jeff locked in. I'm so confident he's going to be number 1 this year, personally.
I agree.
If you have one of the later picks in the first round, like 10 through 12 in a 12-team league, do you consider going 0 running backs at that point and stacking 2 of the elite wide receivers?
No.
Definitely.
No.
I have. Because on the turnaround, round 3 and 4, I still think you can get some value at running back there. And if you lock up 2 elite wide receivers, they're going to make up for that lack of running back star power that you have.
Yeah, I also think that your wide receiver too is more important, getting a good amount of points than your running back too. So you can definitely get like a okay or more than okay running back 1, but everything else will just be hand in hand with the wide receivers. They'll be carrying most of the load.
I typically like to grab at least 1 running back there. I'm not a big fan of the double wide receiver. I just get nervous when he comes down back to you at 3 and 4. You can't miss on one of those running backs. Like you need one of them to be a top 12 running back for your team to continue. You can find a close wide receiver 2 in round 3, but you're not going to find a close RB1 in round 3, in my opinion.
Josh Jacobs.
Compared to who you're taking at that point.
Josh Jacobs.
Well,
it'll work if you get Josh Jacobs.
He's been solid.
He has been consistent over the last couple of years. At that point, how many wide receivers do you need to rank up in your first couple rounds there? Do you typically go wide receiver heavy, or do you stay running back heavy and wait on wide receiver?
If I lock up 2 running backs, my next maybe 4 picks might be wide receivers.
Yeah. I think I'm in the same boat with that too.
Your next 4 picks are going to be wide receivers?
Not necessarily if a good tight end or quarterback's falling, then obviously I consider that. But
if I'm getting value at wide receiver in like 5th, 6th round, why not?
Yeah.
Hang on to him, make a trade later on in the year. Somebody's going to be desperate for a receiver at some point.
I typically like to get 3 wide receivers in the first 5 rounds, if possible.
I need my flex to be a receiver. I hate having a running back at flex. It bugs the shit out of me.
I've never done that. Never will.
I have, and it's always bit me in the ass.
It should.
I think they're just a bit more inconsistent at the running back position, especially when you're talking about a flex. All right, let's get into our ranks. We just talked a little bit about Justin Jefferson, but it seems like consensus, it's Justin Jefferson or Cooper Kupp. Which one do you guys prefer? Does anyone prefer Kupp at this point at number 1?
No, even though I should.
You can't go wrong.
He was amazing last year. Like he should be the one, but I like Jeff. I don't know.
It's just that good.
It's just the name.
More has changed for Cooper Kupp that can make him go down, which would be Allen Robinson joining the Rams, and nothing's changed for Justin Jefferson. Same exact team for him.
Yeah, I think Justin Jefferson's in a safer situation, especially with Stafford dealing with that tendonitis. That's something that might linger throughout the entire season, something to keep an eye on. I think Cooper Kupp's going to be just fine. I think they're really 1A and 1B for me. Like they're both at that level, but I'm just taking Justin Jefferson's upside and the fact that it's tough for a wide receiver to repeat that kind of season back-to-back years. So
he had 109 more fantasy points than Jeff. 109.
It is crazy. That's nuts. Still going Jeff. Don't care. Yep. Can't change my mind.
I'm with you, but I don't know why.
Just like the upside.
It's
I don't know.
Gritty.
Yeah, it's is the gritty. It's the flashiness. It's that talk. He's been backing it up. So a couple years ago, he said he knew he was a top 5 wide receiver. And at that time, it was like right after his rookie year, people were like, how are you going to say that already? But it seems like he was not wrong. He's established himself. So
maybe Chase Claypool can do that.
Yeah, no.
Top 3.
Doubtful. All right. We all have those 2 as our top 2. Number 3 is where we start to branch off a bit. Q and T Gods, specifically Q wearing the jersey. Who do you guys have at number 3?
Stefan.
Uh-huh.
Dicks.
Uh-huh.
Last 2 seasons, over 160 targets, over 100 catches, over 100 or 1,200 yards, and over 8 touchdowns. I know last year was a down year for him, and he still finished wide receiver 7. We saw him finish wide receiver 2 years ago. They do have Gabe Davis and McKenzie who are getting a lot of hype, but they weren't getting many targets last year either until like the playoffs when there was that big Gabe Davis game, which is, I guess, recency bias why everyone's now loving him. But it should be, quote unquote, a bounce back year for Diggs where he could maybe go back to that 2 years ago looking wide receiver overall 2.
And they also have the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, and very pass-heavy offense. Well, yeah.
It is a very pass-heavy offense.
Yeah, definitely love me some Diggs this year. Also have him in my top 5. But me and Matt are going with the best wide receiver in the league, hands down, for the last few years. Devontae Adams.
He's saying for years with the D-Hop jersey on.
Right, Matt, we talked about this
D-Hop
so many
fell
times.
off a couple years ago. He's getting old.
Jeez,
you're a scheme ball.
I like it.
I love.
He's wearing he's wearing a Davis Mills jersey.
Numbers don't lie.
Yeah,
We've said for years, Matt. We've talked about it. We fought other people.
Hey, with Julio.
That D-Hop was the best receiver in the league.
Was over Julio.
And now you're switching up saying, "Oh, he's been washed for a couple years." You're really switching up like crazy.
That's the ultimate switch up.
Last year really made it feel like D-Hop was like reached that point, but he was also banged up, and so we'll see what D-Hop comes back like this year. We know he's older at this point, coming off an injury is tough. He is juiced up,
or he was juiced up,
being suspended. We'll see how that ends up, but at this point, at least for the last year, Devontae Adams has been certified the best wide receiver in football.
It's been like top 5 4 out of the last 5 years.
I know he's in a new situation, but in seasons of the last 6 years where he's played at least 14 games, he's had at least 10 touchdowns in every season. I think he is definitively the best red zone wide receiver target in the league, hands down. Devontae Adams finds the end zone with ease. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers helps that a lot. Derek Carr is maybe a step down, but I'm still confident that Devontae Adams is going to make life easier on Derek Carr and make Derek Carr even take a step up this year just because of how talented Adams is. I think he's going to elevate that entire offense. So
that offense is going to be fun to watch.
Offense is definitely going to be fun to watch. Me and Matt both got Adams at 3. So we're all close with our top 5s. So let's get into some of our bigger discrepancies and break down why we have these guys so far apart. Starting with CeeDee Lamb. He's currently going as wide receiver 7, 18th overall. T-Gods, you have him right there at wide receiver 7, right where he's being drafted. Matt, a little bit behind at 8, and Q and I have him at 10. T-Gods, I guess you're the highest. You could start us off why you like Lamb so much.
He loves the star.
Apparently, I love the star. I hate the star. Not a fan of the star, but I am a CD fan. Obviously Coop is gone. That's crazy. Like Gallup, who knows if he's going to be healthy. Like CeeDee Lamb is the guy. And apparently Zeke is falling off a cliff and he's like trash now. Apparently. Like he's not. I don't
Fake
agree.
news.
Literally
Yeah,
fake news. But if all that's true, then like CeeDee Lamb should finish over 7. But I truly like him at 7. I think he's going to be elite.
Yep. All that volume. The volume's going to be crazy. Like you mentioned, Coop's gone. And aside from himself, maybe Jalen Tolbert and Dalton Schultz, it's really just going to be CeeDee Lamb.
Dalton Schultz is that dude, though.
Y'all were convincing me the other week.
Yeah, I
Dalton
don't want
Schultz
to.
is that guy.
I don't want to.
Schultz.
Well, that's why I'm trying to change the subject. I'm not trying to look like I hate on CeeDee Lamb for having him at 10. Like he only had one game last year under double-digit points, so obviously he's going to get the crazy amount of extra targets that he had trouble with getting last year because of Cooper and I guess I don't even know, but I just couldn't put him ahead of. I couldn't put him ahead of guys like Keane and Allen if he has a healthy season, or Debo or Tyreek, who is still better than CeeDee Lamb.
I would agree with Q. I think the only reason I have him at 10 is just because I believe in some of the other guys that are just maybe a little bit safer, a little bit more consistent. CeeDee Lamb probably has some upside too. He has top 5 upside. We already know that. But I think Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill, I have all 3 of them ahead of him. And I'm a big believer that all 3 of them are going to finish inside the top 10 as well. So just like the upside, Tyreek, I did bump him down from where he would be if he was still in the Chiefs, but I still think I'd take him over CeeDee Lamb right now, as well as Mike Evans, Keenan Allen. Those are just consistent guys that are going to put up good numbers.
I agree with everybody else except Tyreek.
Bias.
No bias.
Bias.
This is consistent talent that we believe.
This is you guys make fun of me, telling
Now
me
he
I
has
love the
Tua.
star. It's just because you're biased.
Maybe a little bias, maybe a little negative bias,
Just
maybe
accept
a sprinkle.
Just accept
but
it. This is
not
for
much.
money. This isn't.
I like him at 10. If CeeDee Lamb is there at the 10th wide receiver, I'm taking him 10 times out of 10.
All right.
Even at 10, I might consider someone else over him, but I probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't at that point.
That's being biased.
Michael Pittman.
Oh,
Don't get me started. I don't think I would go that far though.
So you guys might.
We'll talk about both of them soon, but let's move on to Keane and Allen. As we just mentioned, he's going as wide receiver 10, 27th overall, and all of us are higher than ADP there. I have him at 7. So you guys has him at 8. Q has him at 9, and Matt also has him at 9. I guess we're kind of all in the same boat here, but I'll start us off because I am the highest. Keenan Allen over the last 6 seasons has never finished lower than 14. He's peaked as a top 5 wide receiver. Give me all of the shares of Keenan Allen every single year. This offense is going to be super hot power again. And Austin Eckler, I think, was with the Fantasy Footballers the other day, and he pretty much said if he had to pick between Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, he's taking Keenan Allen every day. He said he's going to have over 100 catches. Even his own teammates know Keenan Allen is still the alpha wide receiver on this team. Give me him all day with Justin Herbert this year.
Yeah, if your quarterback's throwing 5,000 yards,
7,000 yards for Q.
And if you're playing the whole season, you have to finish top 10.
And do we really think Mike Will stays healthy like that again this year?
Yes, he got paid.
I do like Mike Williams' upside, but I still think Keenan Allen's just the safer, more consistent, more reliable wide receiver. They finished close last year, but Mike Williams was like a roller coaster, and Keenan Allen was smooth sailing. So give me the smooth sailing all day.
Yep. No headache
target
there.
Monster. Michael Pittman Jr. next on the list. He's currently going wide receiver 13, 37th overall. His ADP has been skyrocketing throughout the offseason. T-Gods, you are the highest all the way inside your top 10 at 9. I thought I was going to be the highest at 11, but I am no longer the highest. Q at 13 and Matt down at 15 below ADP. T-Gods, start us off why you love him so much. Matt, we want to hear why you hate Pittman.
I don't hate
That's such a strong word.
You hate.
Just kidding. Go ahead, T-Gods.
I mean, I don't know. I just as I was doing my ranks, I was just looking at them, and I remember all of your things that you told me. I do have one person on YouTube I like to watch that I can't give my secrets away, because I don't want you guys stealing them from me. But he also was a big believer in Pittman, and I saw a video on Twitter, Matt Ryan hitting a no-look pass, and I was like, Matt Ryan's the truth. He still got it. I just like the upside. I don't know. I mean, it's Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, and they still got Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
I
like
just
number 2 target there.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just really like Pittman. I like the upside. I know teams are going to be so scared of Jonathan Taylor, that I think it gives Pittman a little bit more room to make things happen. I don't know. I feel like between like 6 to 15, it's just like a free for all. Like you put people wherever you want, and you just get lucky. But I don't know. Something's just telling me to put Pittman up there.
I love Pittman too. I'll back you up here with a little bit more numbers. He did have 129 targets last season. I think that goes up even more this year with all of the departures on that offense. Jack Doyle gone, Zach Pascal gone, T.Y. Hilton gone. The second best wide receiver is now Alec Pierce and Paris Campbell at the 3. There's really no competition for targets, which means Pittman is going to face some double teams, but this man is 6'4". He's coming into his prime as a wide receiver. I think he's going to have an even better season this year. And last season, he only had 6 touchdowns as a 6'4" wide receiver. I think Matt Ryan changes that a little bit this year. We know he's had trouble in the past getting it to Julio in the end zone, but I do think 6 is still a low number. I think Pittman can easily push towards 10 touchdowns this year, especially with the lack of targets on this team. They're going to have to get him the ball. I think he's going to be force fed. When it's not Jonathan Taylor, Pittman is going to be that next man up on this offense. So that's why I have him so high. Just a big believer. I think he's going to finish as wide receiver 1 this year after we saw him creep all the way almost into the top 15 last year.
Matt Ryan's really had the best receivers and just can't finish as a top.
With it.
I mean, I don't know what his best fantasy finish is, but
I mean, he was MVP, so I think he was number 2 that year.
Okay.
But outside of that, he was pretty inconsistent.
I forgot about that because they lost. All they care about is 28-3.
Yeah, that pretty much tampered it. He was typically a consistent QB 7. And then he finished number 2 twice, but then outside of that, he had some down years too. So
after that Super Bowl, he aged 50 years. So
it was probably stressful.
He did. All right, Matt, why do you not like Pittman so much?
Yeah, why do you hate him?
I just don't trust Matt Ryan like that. And like you mentioned, this offense is going to be very run heavy, but I do agree. When they are throwing the ball, it is going to be Pittman being force fed. But I'm just not the biggest believer in Matt Ryan on this Colts offense, honestly. And like your argument a couple of debates ago, Sean, there's just other people I like that I put above him. It's no hate towards Michael Pittman. He's a great receiver. I would love to have him on our team. Me and Q kept him in T-God's league. But there's just a few names I have ahead of him, and his quarterback is not the greatest, in my opinion.
And Matt Ryan is definitely safer and smarter, but Wentz is still better. I think he's still more skilled than him, and if he's more skilled than Matt Ryan, how's he going to go farther up? Outside of maybe no other competition, but there wasn't much competition last year. I'm not going to call T.Y. Hilton any competition.
I'm just thinking all of the targets are going to open up. He's got to get some of those, even more than 129. I think he's going to push towards 150 targets this year. He's going to catch more passes this year.
I just think Jonathan Taylor is like the Derrick Henry of Indy, where they're going to run it through him.
They definitely are. We shall see. We all have Pittman as a top 15 play. He's going to be rock solid, in my opinion. Let's move on to someone Matt has ahead of Michael Pittman. T. Higgins, currently going wide receiver 12, 32nd overall. T-Gods, you still are the highest here at 10. Matt at 11. Q, you and I are lower. Q got him at 14, and I have him at 15. You guys and Matt, you can start us off.
I'll just start with just saying, admittedly open bias here. I had him last year on my chip winning team. I love the Bengals offense. I love everything about it, including Joe Mixon. I don't know. I love that offense. Is just so fun to watch. It's just another year of experience. Burrow's getting better. T. Higgins getting better. Jamar's getting everybody's getting better.
They're all young and they're all clicking.
Yeah, I don't think any numbers from their offense last year goes down. I don't know. I just T. Higgins. I'll talk about him later with my bold take, but that man is the truth, bro.
He's the big body on this offense. Jamar's flashy. He has the yards after the catch, all that. But when the Bengals are in the red zone, it's going to T. Higgins. He's 6'5" or something. tall as shit. He's just going to be mossing little defensive backs. And honestly, I feel like he will get the majority of the targets in this offense this year.
I love
I
that.
truly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, the reason for me that I don't love him as much is just the target share is going to be tough to come by. Obviously, I still have him at 15. I still think he's going to be a top 15 wide receiver, but I think Jamar Chase may extend that 1A to 1B situation here this year. I think both of them have the potential to finish as top 15 wide receivers. I just have Higgins lower. I'm higher on Jamar this year. I just like his upside. We saw him finish as number 5 as a rookie. I think the sky's the limit. He had 18 more targets than T last year, but T did miss a couple games as well. So I do think that balances out a bit. But I still think I like Jamar Chase's upside a little bit more. So that's why maybe I'm a little bit lower.
Yeah, you also got to take into account Jamar is going to be facing a lot of double teams this year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just going to
double them. T. Higgins
teams are going to try to.
They might.
They're going to try
they
to.
Might. Yeah.
And
it's going to be tough. You can't really, there's just so many weapons.
For T. I know. You can't really focus on one part of that offense.
Yeah. I mean, if they start doubling wide receivers like T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd's going to have a field day over the middle. If they start trying to play a bunch of like deep coverage, it's going to be the Joe Mixon day. Like it's tough to cover this offense. I think everything's going to be high powered.
I want any part of this offense I can get,
including Hayden Hurst.
No, aside from tight end.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Terry McLaurin currently going wide receiver 16, 41st overall. We're actually all a little bit lower than ADP, but Matt, you are the highest at 17. T-Gods, me, and Q all have him at 20.
I'll move him at 19.
Q moved him up to 19. He's riding that right now.
Over who?
Matt,
over who?
DK.
All right.
I respect
That's
it.
fair.
I think I already had him over DK.
But
go ahead, Matt. Why
I
you
like
love
Terry this year. Obviously, there's a little bit of mistrust in the backfield right now. I don't know how much they're going to rely on Antonio Gibson. I know they have Brian Robinson, who has looked good. But, I mean, Logan Thomas is coming back, which I think only helps him, having Jahan Dotson there. And he's going to be playing with the best quarterback of his career. And I don't know why people think Terry's so bad. I know Vince is probably going to say some slander in the chat, but
he's blocked.
I think Terry is going to have a good year this year with Wentz. God forbid, Wentz, please stay healthy. But I think he's going to get majority of the target share on this team, and he's proven in the past that he could be a top 15 wide receiver.
Just please, God, no Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, no cap.
The only reason I'm lower on Terry is he's never finished higher than 20 amongst wide receivers. Last year, I was all in on Terry. I was on the Terry train. I said, this is the year. They got Fitzpatrick. Obviously, ended up getting hurt. But he's still a decent QB played throughout the year last year and just struggled with consistency.
Your mistake was saying
this is what killed me. And Wentz is probably the most inconsistent quarterback in the league. So I think he's still going to be inconsistent this year. He's going to be up and down. I just don't love that this year.
Your mistake
Wentz
was
is still
saying
better than Fitzpatrick.
He said this is his year with Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Right.
Who says that?
Hey, Ryan Fitzpatrick has had some wide receiver ones throughout
his career. 5 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. That was a long time ago.
Either way, I don't think Wentz is much better than Ryan Fitzpatrick in general. So he's
better than Fitzpatrick.
On Fitzmagic.
Yeah, y'all are asleep.
I liked Fitzpatrick, but Wentz is better than him.
Yeah, he is better than him, but I don't think by much. I don't know how much of an upgrade Carson Wentz is.
Well, not even, last year was Heineke anyway, so we're comparing him to Heineke.
Okay. Comparing him to Heineke, he's better, but I still think Wentz is super inconsistent. He's going to have terrible games this year, like he does every single year.
Mm-hmm.
He was good last year.
He was mid.
Exactly. Yeah,
exactly. Top 12.
Mid.
Top 15. I don't know what he was.
He was top mid.
Top mid, which makes Terry top mid, which why I'm having him at 20.
He's mid.
Wentz was 14 last year.
And he was at, so so Heineke's below mid and Terry was mid. So now Terry's high mid because the quarterback upgraded to mid.
He's top mid.
He's top mid.
What's above top mid? Because that's what Terry is. I'm not going to call him mid.
Vince is spitting in the chat saying Wentz's best wide receiver one was like Alshon Jeffrey in his entire career. So he may be spitting facts there. Pittman last year maybe his best at 17.
Pittman,
Terry
He's still young. He was still finding his own.
We shall see. Let's move on from Terry on to Amari Cooper. going wide receiver 22, 57th overall. Seems like we're all kind of against that. But you and Matt, you are still pretty close to there at 24. Me and T-Gods have him at 30. So why do you guys like him so much? Maybe not so much, but why do you guys like him more than we do?
Maybe I should have moved him down. I was under the anticipation of Deshaun Watson only missing 6 games. But him playing 11 games with Jacoby Brissett, I don't know how well that can end up for Amari Cooper, which is a shame because every year on the Cowboys, he was like a top 15 wide receiver. And that quarterback play is just going to be dismal for him those first 11 weeks of the season. And you can't really afford that in fantasy because the playoffs sneak up on you real quick. And that is basically the whole regular season of fantasy that he's going to be playing with Brissett.
I think Brissett's serviceable, but either way, Amari Cooper is the wide receiver 1 on that team. There's no debate. I don't need like Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Who is debating that?
I'm just saying like that's why there is some upside there because who's the ball going to get thrown to? Maybe David Njoku. Outside of that, it's just Amari Cooper. Well, unless he's traded.
True.
But yeah, Cooper still has some upside, and then when Watson comes back, you just hope that Cooper was afloat, a top 20 wide receiver or something.
Yeah. I just think where he's being drafted, there's way more guys I like. That's really the only reason. Do I want Amari Cooper with 11 games of Brissett and then hoping Watson comes back and does anything? Or 2 picks later, I can grab Cortland Sutton at wide receiver 23. So I got Cooper all the way down at 30. Yeah, there's a lot of guys with more upside that I just like over him. That's the only reason I have him lower. I think he's a safe flex, but as a wide receiver 2, I think he's definitely risky this year.
Oh, yeah.
Jerry Judy, currently going wide receiver 24, 61st overall. T-Gods, you're right there at 25th. Matt, 28, Q, 29. I have him all the way down at 33, so I guess I'll start us off. Just not a fan of Jerry Judy thus far. I don't know where the hype comes from. I mean, obviously, he was a first-round draft pick. He has some good talent, but getting Russell Wilson, I think, is just more of a benefit for Cortland Sutton. He's always been a guy that throws outside the numbers and throws outside the numbers really well. Jerry Judy has been doing his work over the slot. Jerry Judy got banged up last year. He's been inconsistent since he's come into the league. I just don't know if he's as legit of a talent as we've seen with Cortland Sutton in the past, finishing pretty solid. Just not the biggest Jerry Judy stand this year.
Yeah, Jerry Judy.
I'm going to end up with probably 0 shares of Jerry Judy in drafts.
He could be the Denver Tyler Lockett, just a lot not as good as Tyler Lockett when he's good. But you could always like use the argument that Russ has the top 15 wide receiver every time he plays, but that's easily going to be Sutton.
Yeah. You are the highest, but you're pretty much still below. So I think you're kind of in the same boat here with Sutton over Judy. Vince in the chat saying Judy over Sutton. I think that's a little wild.
Why is
Vince's brain dead?
Awful take.
Probably.
Yeah. All right.
Much Zaza.
I think we're all a little bit down on Judy this year. But someone Matt is super high on this year. Adam Thielen, currently going wide receiver 27, 67th overall. Matt's got him all the way up at 25. And then me, Q, and T-Gods definitely lower. T-Gods at 32. Me and Q both have him at 34. So, Matt, why the Thielen love?
Why not? Last year, he played like, I believe it was 14 games, still had 10 touchdowns. He had like 790 some yards. I could easily see that increasing if he stays healthy this year. Easily could have another 10 touchdowns. Offenses are going to be so focused on Justin Jefferson because that is a player I feel like you do have to double team, and if you don't, he's going to burn you every single play. But I love this offense as a whole as well, aside from the tight end, unfortunately. But Adam Thielen the past couple of years has been an absolute red zone monster. And honestly, if you could just rely on that from him, he'll do you justice week in, week out.
Yeah. I definitely am not like that scared of Thielen, but I think where he's being drafted, it just feels like it's too rich for me right now. There's some younger guys I like with more upside. Obviously, Thielen has the talent to be top 10, but at this point, he's probably the oldest wide receiver in the league. He's 32.
Yeah, he's one of the best.
Coming towards the end of his career, coming off an injury, and he's been a touchdown monster the last couple seasons, but before that, he was not really a touchdown monster, so I'm nervous some of that touchdown falls off as well, and his target share has been decreasing too. So as he's getting older, it's been coming down a little bit, just not as high on Thielen this year. But we'll see. He still has some upside, so I think he's worth picking, but I prefer him a little bit later.
With Kirk at quarterback, tons of upside.
Oh my goodness.
Here we
Miles of upside.
go. All right. Darnell Mooney, currently going wide receiver 28, 68th overall. T-Gods, me, and Q all feel pretty strongly about Mooney. I am at 24 with T-Gods.
I need to change
25. Q's hating on Mooney
I
mid-rankings
I
episode.
honestly hate him.
And Matt has him at 32.
That's
So
where it made me
Justin
rusty.
Fields sucks.
That team is
Explain
so
yourself.
bad. That team is so bad. Justin Fields is not that good.
Have you guys watched the
Yeah.
preseason? Justin Fields is getting like under pressure every single
The
snap.
defensive lineman snaps the ball to Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Just tackles him.
He's going to be under pressure.
Mooney
all
finished
game.
22 last year. You guys are hating. What?
Finished 23 last year with Fields.
With
and
A-Rob there.
With A-Rob there, and now A-Rob
A-Rob was
Well, no, A-Rob was like
he was non-existent. He was
I
a
know.
decoy every week.
So
was like
Mooney had 140 targets last year. It's not going to be
Uh-huh.
pretty, but he's probably going to have more than 140 targets this year, probably 150. The volume's going to be there.
Doesn't mean
I
it
love
will
volume.
equal.
It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be ugly, but Mooney's going to be a top 20 wide receiver, whether you like it or not.
No, he's
He-
not. Justin Fields is
I'm-
going to run way too
You're
much.
so
He's-
sleep. You're
I'll
so
stay
sleep.
I
Justin
love
Fields isn't
Mooney,
even that,
but
like, he can run, but he's not a running quarterback.
Yes,
They
he
didn't-
is.
Did they use him like that last year when he
Well,
played?
he
Like,
could
did not
barely
that
run
much.
forward.
He had 420 rushing yards last year in 12 games. So like maybe 600. He's gonna run, obviously, but it's gonna be Mooney when he's throwing the ball. Who else is he throwing it to? Velus Jones Jr.
Cole Kmet.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, Cole Kmet's gonna take 150 targets. Never. It's
David
gonna be the Mooney
Montgomery.
show. Accept it, whether you like it or not. Don't sleep.
Yeah.
Bottom 30.
Bottom
top
30?
Not outside top 30, not
All right.
bottom 30.
We shall see. Keep it rolling here. A few more guys to get through. Gabe Davis currently going wide receiver 30.
Then
74th overall. A couple of our rankings switched a little bit here, but T-Gods has them a little bit higher, 35, Q 36, Matt 36. I have a 37. So we're all way lower than consensus. I'm the lowest, so I guess I'll start off. I like this offense a lot. I just don't know if Gabe Davis, I need him to prove it to me in the regular season. He's been a postseason monster last year, and I believe the year before as well. He had a really good game in the postseason. But where
always
does he
good for
go when the regular season shows up? Obviously, he lost some target share to Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley last year, but what does that mean if Jamison Crowder is going to be there too and could also take some of that target share away from him again? I just want him to prove it to me as that he's going to be a legit flex, maybe wide receiver 2 this year. Just a little bit nervous about him actually being a legit wide receiver in that situation consistently across the season. Obviously,
Hey.
we've seen the upside, but we've never
Mhm.
seen it consistently in his career.
Very gassed up for someone who hasn't done much. I feel like this
He's never
offseason
really had the opportunity. I think this is going to be the year where he has the most opportunity to actually be the wide receiver 2 on one of the most pass-happy offenses in the league. Like T-God said, with the best quarterback in the league. So, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't want some of Gabe Davis.
I don't know,
Move him on
especially
up
if you're drafting him as like your wide receiver 4. Like
Yeah, even Gabe Davis is a flex.
even if you're scared,
Yeah.
like that's how you win leagues. You gotta
Yeah.
draft the people you're scared of.
The risk is worth the possible reward.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking him. I'm just not taking him at wide receiver 30. There's too many guys there that I like over Gabe Davis at that point.
Can't hate it. Adam Thielen.
I'd take Adam Thielen over Gabe Davis 10 times out of 10.
No,
What?
no, not Thielen over Gabe.
Jesus.
You have him over Gabe.
I know, but I know, but like I was thinking while you guys were talking about Thielen, it's just like why he's on the down, like
He is.
he's on the decline. Gabe Davis, like I'll take that risk.
I think he's worth the risk. I just would take him a little bit later, and I don't think I'm going to get him in many leagues where I would like to take him.
This is why
Just
I don't
some
do my
guys that-
ranks until like days before the draft.
I got you.
It's just a
Matt,
rough draft.
Hunter Renfro, your
Love him.
man's from last year, your man's this year. You got him higher than all of us at 30. He's currently going 32nd. Me, T-God's Q, lower. T-God's 36, Q 37. I have him at 38.
Y'all hating.
I just think the third option in this offense isn't going to be that elite. I think maybe he does establish himself over Waller this year. I talked about how much I'm not the biggest all in on Waller this year, but I think I'm just all in on Adams in this offense. Derek Carr loves to target one guy and just feed him and it's going to be Adams. Adams is going to have 10 plus targets per game, probably on average, and he's going to eat. There's going to be room for Renfrow and Waller to pick up the slack, but I think there's guys with more upside than Renfrow. I think his ceiling this year is not where it was last year. I think it's closer to wide receiver 25 ceiling than wide receiver 12, whatever he finished last season.
10.
Yeah, insane. Matt, why you love some Renfrow this year?
I don't know. Honestly, maybe just some bias thrown in there.
Big bias.
But that's fine, Sean. You're the most biased here.
I am.
But I mean, sure, Adams is going to get his, but what happens when Devontae Adams is getting all the attention from the defense? I feel like this is the case for any offense with one true star player. I feel like that gives the role players like so much more opportunity to actually do something. He won't have as many targets as he did last year, but they're definitely going to be like more quality targets. And I honestly do think he does have the chance to take over that second option over Waller this year. Waller is getting older. He wasn't really all that healthy last year. So given Waller possibly misses some time, I think Renfrow could easily sneak back up into that top 25, top 20 wide receiver range.
I could see it happening. I could definitely see it happening. Just there's some other guys with more upside I may like a little bit more, such as Elijah Moore, currently going wide receiver 35, 86 overall. I don't have him as high as T-Gods and Q. T-Gods has him all the way at 28, Q at 30. Me and Matt closer to his ADP. I have him at 34. Matt has him at 35. T-Gods, Q. Why you guys like Elijah Moore this season?
I'll let T-Gods talk because
okay, so
Joe Flacco.
I'm sorry, but I did forget to change this one. I moved them to 34.
Okay, same boat as me and Matt. Q.
Dude,
probably
looks like
moving
you're on
him
an
down
island.
as
you
well.
might as well throw me out there also. I do like Joe Flacco more than Zach Wilson, but I don't think that would be enough to push him that high up. So I guess he gets another. That's another denotion from me, dog.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat on Elijah Moore that he has some upside. Zach Wilson, maybe not the best, but what we saw last year with Zach Wilson partially at the helm through that streak where he had 5 or 6 games of 10 to almost 30 points for a string of like 6 or 7 weeks. The upside is there. I think he's a solid flex option this season. Yep. Someone that I'm not switching my rank on, Rashad Bateman, ADP wide receiver 38, going super late. I have him at 25. Q, you're right there behind me at 28. T-Gods and Matt still 5 picks ahead of ADP at 33. So I'll start it off. He's the number 1 wide receiver on a high-powered offense. It may be a run-first offense, but at this point, Mark Andrews is obviously going to eat up a big portion of that target share, which is just going to leave everything else for Rashad Bateman. There's really no competition in the wide receiver room. Bateman just has to prove that this year he's going to be legit, and I think he does. That's why I have him all the way up at 25. And I'd be confident taking him as a high-end flex this season. And I think we're all in the same boat on that. Maybe not as high as I am, but
definitely
like
has
Bateman
that
as a flex.
He has the most upside in that pool of wide receivers down there, I feel like.
That's why I threw him all the way up at 25. Love me some Bateman this season.
All right.
Very confident.
All right.
All right. That's it for our discrepancies. We got a lot of other discrepancies, but we have to move on to some targets. Wide receiver 2, flex, and late round targets. Wide receiver 2, let's start with those. Q, what do you got?
Who else? Allen Robinson just joined the Rams last year. We saw Woods finish the top 20 receiver before his injury. A-Rob better than him. And then we saw OBJ play pretty well, even though it was more or so in the playoffs. So we've seen A-Rob finish top 10, I believe, and this is the best quarterback he's played with. We probably said it a million times. So I think he's going to be the reason why Cooper Kupp doesn't finish number 1, but he's going to definitely finish. He could finish with wide receiver 1 as well. So definitely wide receiver 2, drafting him as an upside of wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I think A-Rob could definitely have a career resurgence this year with the best QB he's played with. Or
he could be really stinky with all the hype that he's getting, but I'm hoping that's not the case.
Yeah, let's hope not. Let's hope last year was a fluke. T-Gods, wide receiver 2, who do you like?
I love Cortland Sutton. Matt?
Yeah.
You too?
I do.
Thank you.
Me too.
I love me some Sutton
I
this
love
year.
him.
All right. Everybody loves him though. All right. I love that. Said it a million times. Big body. Love that. he just like he has wide receiver 1 upside. Like Russ, he's the red zone target. Russ led the league last year in red zone passing yards with 360. Like this is what he does. He gets into the red zone and he throws. Who's he gonna throw to? The big man, Cortland Sutton. Like the touchdown potential here is crazy. Like we've seen him finish like inside the top 15 before. I forget where
I
he
think it was
goes.
like
top 15 finish.
Yeah, I think it was right there.
Yeah, so like we know he's good, and he just got Russ. Like Russ is about to come in here and just take over. Like I strongly believe in the whole wide receiver core here, but especially Cortland Sutton.
He finished 19th. It's inside top 20. Still a very solid season.
Yeah, very, very solid. But that wasn't with Russ, so
even more upside.
Big juice.
Matt,
Big juice.
wide receiver 2, who you got?
This is a guy whose ADP very well may climb before draft day, but I'm gonna go Chris Godwin. If you get him as your wide receiver 2 in like a 12-team league, that is an absolute steal. This guy could be as good as Mike Evans is on that Bucs offense. Tom Brady isn't showing any signs of slowing down. AB is no longer there. I know they brought in Julio, but he's now a fossil. No Gronk as of right now. So, I mean, Chris Godwin, I believe he was like a top 5, top 6 wide receiver last year before he got hurt. So, I don't know why. I understand he's coming in with a bit of an injury, but I don't understand why his ADP is as low as it is currently.
Yeah, I think we'll see that start to spike a little bit, but as long as he's good to go for week 1, I agree with that as well. My wide receiver 2, my favorite wide receiver 2 target, bias intended, DJ Moore. Been a fan of him over the last few seasons, and I'm still a big fan. A few touchdowns away from being a wide receiver 1 each of the last few seasons. He's been stuck on that number 4 touchdowns each of the last 3 seasons, and I think that finally has to go up. Like it's just he's due for some positive touchdown regression, and it's going to happen. He's going to continue to see healthy volume and is the number 1 clear-cut go-to guy in this offense and will be the clear-cut guy for Baker this season. Baker, arguably the best QB he's played with. Maybe obviously Cam might have been a little bit better, but Cam was also towards the end of his career. I think Baker brings a bit more balance to this offense than Sam Darnold and the carousel that was last season. So DJ will see consistent wide receiver 2 production. Give me him all day as a wide receiver 2. And I think he's got a lot of upside this year.
Are you saying Baker's better than PJ?
Yes. My bias isn't that strong. That's insane to say PJ Walker would be over any starting QB in the NFL right now. All right, maybe Zach Wilson. He might be better than Zach Wilson.
All right.
Jets, give the Panthers a call. All right, flex options. I'll start and we'll work our way back up this time. Give me
Another
Juju
bias.
as a flex. I liked Juju when he was in Pittsburgh, but I was never the biggest fan. But he's currently going at wide receiver 33. I have him all the way up at 26 in my ranks. He's Patrick Mahomes' number 1 wide receiver. I'm not scared of MVS stealing a large target share. Maybe he'll catch one of the long bombs here and there, but I'm not scared of that at all. Maybe Sky Moore makes an impact, but I'm putting all my money on Juju. He has top 20 upside. We've seen him finish as an elite wide receiver in the past. And even if he's not like that elite, I think by default, he's going to be a top 30 wide receiver this season. So give me Juju. This offense is going to throw a ton. Kelsey's going to be number 1. Juju's going to have to be number 2 and step up. Give me Juju all day as a flex.
I think this is the most I've liked him since AB left Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I think it's just a great situation for him to bounce back and really prove to us that he's a nice wide receiver.
A little more than a TikToker.
Yes, precisely. Matt, working our way back up. Flex. Who you got?
It's a guy we just talked about not too long ago. Goes by the name of Gabe Davis. I am falling onto this Gabe Davis hype train. He has looked good in the preseason. And the number 2 on this Bills offense with Josh Allen under center is bound to put up numbers. I'm not too scared of Isaiah McKenzie taking away too many targets from Diggs or Davis. I think they are going to be 1 and 2 by far. And this team is going to put up a lot of points. They're going to score a lot of touchdowns. They all can't go to Stefan Diggs.
Dawson.
Don't sleep on Dawson.
I'm not sleeping on Dawson.
We're messing up his take.
But Gabe Davis, I would be more than happy with him as a flex, especially in this Bills offense. One of the most pass happy in the league.
I like it. T-Gods,
Yep.
flex. Who we got?
I have a man that some of us love, some of us hate. Darnell Mooney.
Moon Man.
I don't understand the hate here. He finished last year as wide receiver 23, and to have him as your flex, I would love that. I would love a top 23 receiver as my flex. He's currently going as wide receiver 24. I have him at wide receiver 24. Sean talked about it earlier. 140 targets last year, 81 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 4 receiving touchdowns, 1 rushing. So you like that? That's just a little juicer.
Sprinkle on top.
Sprinkle it right on there. A little rushing touchdown. He could do it all. He's still young. It's only his 3rd year in the league. Justin Fields is getting better. Darnell Mooney's getting better. Working on their chemistry. I don't see a reason that his numbers should go down. I think Darnell Mooney is not in his I don't think he's had his best season yet. I think there's still a lot of upside here for Darnell Mooney, and I'd love him as my flex. Perfect flex.
This team is just awful.
Sure, I agree.
But it's so awful that he won't be good. Like this is like the one.
They were awful last year.
No,
Always some gems on
there's
the bad
more
teams.
dysfunction this year.
How?
They got a
The
new
year
head
didn't
coach.
start yet.
Last year they had Matt and Nagy as their
Yes,
head
but now
coach.
they knew everything. I'm telling you, the team is terrible.
It
And
is.
it's not going to be any.
Chelsea.
It's going to be worse this year.
Mooney's gonna be just fine.
Mooney will be just fine.
Just fine. Fine and dandy.
Yeah,
All right.
sure.
Q, moving back to you, to your flex, and then your late round target, and we'll work our way back down.
All right, two goats. My next two talking points. First one's going to be DeAndre Hopkins. You have to wait 6 games to play him, but after the 7 games he played last year, from weeks 1 to 7, he was a top 15 wide receiver. And I don't like Kyler, but he does. DeAndre Hopkins will be good. And in those 10 games that he played all season, he had 8 touchdowns. So he's going to score. He had a very poor season. No, actually, I'm going back and forth. So let me just say he's going to be a good flex. He's going to be worth waiting the 6 weeks you have to wait, and he's going to be a steal in the draft, because who wants to wait that long in a redraft league to be able to start him?
I'll wait that
where he's
long
being
for D-Hop.
drafted
I mean, sure, everyone probably
is
would.
worth.
So who am I
especially
asking?
especially if you have an IR slot in your league, he's definitely worth being drafted where he's being taken right now.
That is true. And then for my late round target, of course, the even better wide receiver, Julio Jones. Basically, wide receiver last year when he played with the Titans. We saw what a vet in his offense can do, AB. And Julio's basically the same caliber of skill as AB. Like, they're just as good. They're both going to be in the Hall of Fame, so they're same skill. They lost Gronk and AB. Godwin's coming off an ACL. It sounds like he's going to be good for week 1, but Julio may be the healthiest player on this team right now, with Mike Evans also dealing with a hamstring injury. So if you can get 15 games, just take a game off. Julio will finish a top 30 wide receiver, and I will put a couple dollars on that. But I
sounded very confident and then said a couple bucks.
give me 5 weeks. If I see what I need to see from Julio, he's finishing over Darnell Mooney.
We'll talk for preseason award
That's
show.
outrageous.
Well,
Take that
Matt, what'd you
back right now.
Matt, did
might
you
have to make
say
that bet.
Darnell Mooney lower 30 or outside top 30?
He
Outside
said
top
third.
30.
Yes,
Said
Julio will
outside.
finish.
At first, I said
inside.
bottom 30, but that
I'll bet
Julio,
you straight up
Julio.
Mooney over Julio.
okay,
Q, don't do that.
All right.
we'll just put 5 on it because
I'll throw 5 on that all day. T-God, you
I'm
want
about
5
to
on
be
that too?
rich this month.
I don't think Q would accept
each
that. Dude.
season. Yeah, I will.
All right.
Give
Can I
me
get in on this?
500.
Even Matt
That's
said outside top 30. He's in on it too.
Julio
I'm not
outside
doing-
top 50.
Russell Gage
My
over
God.
Yeah,
Julio.
Julio around 50.
Stop.
Russell
No.
Gage over Julio.
No, he's
Yeah.
irrelevant.
Gage gonna eat.
And when
He's
Gronk comes back,
When
Gage's going to be
Gronk
even
comes
worse.
back.
We shall see.
Oh.
And I'm also going to take a quick break because I have to run to the bathroom.
All right. See you later.
Alright.
Even though we need you for
Be
trivia
back for
soon, so you
trivia.
better hurry up.
I'll be right back. It takes 2 seconds to use the bathroom.
You never know. T-God's late round target. Who you got?
Late round target, Tyler Boyd. I think we could all agree that put him on a different team, he's a wide receiver 1. Like on that team. Like he's a great football
Some
player.
teams.
Okay, yeah, some teams. like in 2019, before Jamar, before T, 90 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. Like those aren't like scrub numbers. Like he's just a good receiver. Like if T or Jamar goes down, instant wide receiver 2. You have an instant wide receiver 2. Like at worst, like the offense loves to throw. Like Boyd will have his games. He'll have his games where like you get an injury or a bye week or something. You throw Boyd in and he ends up like winning you your week. Like he can still like pop off any given week. I just like Tyler Boyd. The potential's there. I don't know. He's just good. He's just the background guy that like sometimes shows up and does his thing.
Yeah, even with both of them last year, he still finished wide receiver 31. Like,
yeah,
the
outrageous.
upside's there.
Outrageous.
All right, love me some Boyd late round. Matt, who's your late round target?
My late round target is going to be the number 1 receiver in Green Bay currently, and that is Allen Lazard. I mean, any wide receiver 1 in an Aaron Rodgers-based offense is going to produce numbers. I'm not really too scared of Romeo Dubes. He has had his shine during the preseason, but Allen Lazard has been with Aaron Rodgers for years. They have the best chemistry. They're just building their rapport, and he's going to get majority of the target share on this offense because outside of him, it's really nobody. So why not take your chance on him?
Yeah, at that point, I think he's worth the risk. And you Packers wide receiver after wide receiver 50. Someone's catching passes on this offense,
Right.
And Lazard is the favorite right now. So we shall see about that one. My late round target, I'm repping him. Wrong team. Jarvis Landry. A target for me for probably every season for the past 7 years. He is coming to the end of his career probably. Last year was a bit rough for him. Last year was also only the first time in his career that he missed more than 1 game. And now he's in a new situation with a pass-friendly offense, and his competition is a rookie and the Ben Simmons of the NFL, who was banged up yet again with a hamstring injury. And last time Michael Thomas had a minor injury, he missed 3 years. So you never know what can happen with him. I hope Michael Thomas is able to play this season. And even if he is, Landry's still going to be the wide receiver 2 on this team, in my opinion. I think he's going to be just fine. He's going to get some targets from Jameis Winston. Landry may become the rock of this offense, and he's going wide receiver 56 right now. You're taking him as wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6. Take someone who could be a weekly flex for you at some point this season. Give me all of the shares of Jarvis Landry.
Finishing outside
As
top
always.
40.
I'll bet you that all day.
Biased.
Right.
Biased.
Olave's better than him.
Sean
Olave's
picked
not
all
better.
3 of the players on his dynasty.
Yeah, let's look at Sean's rosters.
Why would I not target guys that I like and I believe in their talent?
I respect it. You stay
Makes
true
no
to
sense
you.
to write guys
I
that
just
I
feel
don't
like that's not right. Go
Why?
outside the box. You like other guys.
I like Jarvis Landry every year. Why would I not like him again this year
I don't know.
in a new situation? I do like other guys. There's other guys that I'm targeting, but these are my favorite targets at wide receiver 2, flex, and late round. Juju's not been my favorite target every year. That's new. Brand new.
Because you have him.
Because I traded for him because I like him this year. I didn't have him last year. We shall see with our favorite targets there. Do our bold takes, answer some questions, and do quick trivia this today. Bold takes. Q, you're wearing them. What do you got?
Diggs finishes wide receiver 1. I think I said this like a year or 2 ago, the same thing. But he has the least amount of competition for targets, I'd say, out of the top 5 guys who finished last year. Maybe not Justin Jefferson, but the other guys, he doesn't have that much competition for targets. We saw him finish wide receiver 2 years ago. Pass heavy offense. The new stat that I found, it's called unrealized air yards, and I think it's when the balls are thrown deep and just not completed. He ranked second in that. So he's getting targeted a lot on big plays. And the RB situation is still a question, I believe. So until there's some balance in the backfield, I think Diggs will only improve off of last year, which wasn't too great, even though he was wide receiver 7. So Diggs will definitely be looked at often and be clear wide receiver 1 on this season.
We shall see. Spicy. T-Gods, what do you got? This
Super
one's
juicy,
spicy.
super juicy take here.
Love it.
I am going to say that T. Higgins finishes over Jamar Chase this year. No, don't make that face. Don't make that face. So let's just go over last year. Last year, T missed 3 games, so that did 2 things. That lowered T, obviously, and that gave Jamar a crazy boost. So last year, T had 74 receptions, and Jamar only had 7 more receptions. So, like, assuming that they both play all 17 games, T should definitely have more receptions than him. Jamar did have 13 touchdowns last year, and T only had 6. But say, like, 3 of those go to T. So that means T has 9 touchdowns, Jamar has 10. So, like, at that point, it just comes down to who can get more yards. And I like Jamar. I mean, sad to say he probably will take the cake in that category. But who knows?
I could easily see surpassing him in touchdowns.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was about to say that, like, more touchdowns and more receptions. So, it could happen. It's not the craziest thing. Like, it sounds crazy, but, like, it's realistic. It's realistic. Not much.
There's a shot. There's a shot.
Yeah. That's
Still
all I
feeling
got.
Jamar.
That's all I got. No, that's fine. I agree.
It's bold. I like it.
Like,
Love
Jamar probably
the
does have
boldness.
more upside, but T, don't sleep on T. T is dummy
reliable.
good. Like, whatever. You'll see.
I'm waiting.
All
Matt, bold take what you got.
I'm going to say that both Buccaneers receivers, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, finished top 10 through the first 15 weeks of the season last year, where they were both healthy and both played 14 games. Godwin was averaging, I believe, like 17.3 fantasy points on 9 targets. Mike Evans was right behind him at, I believe, like 15.6 on 7 targets. So obviously they can both get it done when they're on the field together. Like I said earlier, Tom Brady isn't showing any signs of slowing down. This man does not age. And this is going to be a very high-powered offense, just like it was last year. Hopefully Godwin can come into the season fully healthy. I know Mike Evans is dealing with a little hammy issue right now as well. But as long as these 2 guys are healthy on the field together, they only complement each other so well. So I could easily see both of these receivers finishing as a wide receiver 1 this year.
Definitely could happen.
Will
I
have.
like it. I like it.
I will wrap it up. Deontay Johnson finishes top 10 again this season. George
Why
Pickens
are you laughing?
Because like again.
again.
Do you own Deontay somewhere?
No, I don't,
Yet.
at least to my knowledge. So
yeah.
no bias here. Just a player I also like and appreciate talent for. George Pickens has been stealing the show and has been anointed the next Randy Moss, T.O., and Jerry Rice combined.
Jesus.
Who the hell said that?
Nobody, but that's pretty much what's happening across social media. There's
Sean
no other
did.
wide receiver getting nearly as much hype as George Pickens this preseason. And that's allowed Deontay Johnson's stock to continue to slip. He's coming off of back-to-back seasons with 144 targets and 169 targets last season. He's a volume receiver. He's going to continue to see volume with whatever QB is at the helm. I don't care who it is. The volume is going to be there. Deontay Johnson's getting a healthy 10 targets a game when he's on the field. And he proved he was legit last season, finishing wide receiver 8. At wide receiver 15, give me all the shares of him. I think he could easily be a top 10 wide receiver again this season.
All right. Yes.
That's a wrap for all of the wide receiver talk. Trivia corner with Q. And then I think I saw a question in the chat. If there are any other questions in the chat, feel free to drop them below.
I have
Q,
a question
quick
for you guys.
trivia today.
Yeah.
Matt, question. What do you got?
After trivia.
Okay. Q,
I-
let's run it. One question. I think.
One quick question I grabbed from my pool of 50 that I have for Thursday, so I'll just have to replace that. So those questions are going to be very juicy. But our one wide receiver question for today is, it's a true or false. Alshon Jeffrey had a top 10 wide receiver finish the year before joining the Eagles. So the 2016 when he was in Chicago, true or false, he was a top 10 wide receiver before joining the Eagles.
He was really good. I don't know if it was that season though.
Like, you're talking about like a year right before?
Yeah. So his last year on the Bears.
I got my answer.
I have my answer too.
Matt?
Yeah, locked it in.
It was false,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
that was
I
his
put false.
I think it was the year he got suspended for like drugs or PEDs.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's okay. It
That's
happens.
Jesus
true.
Christ, drugs.
they are drugs. I do have one question, or not question, one trivia question from Lil Kev. I don't think he's here, so I could ask.
Ask it.
It's more of it's an Eagles question, so
Hit it.
we'll see. So the
Bias.
question is,
Little Kev
who
bias.
is no? He took a picture from like the television. Who is the last Eagles receiver who was not drafted by the team to surpass 1,000 yards in a season? The year was around between 2006 to 2008. You guys know the receiver, but I'm just like that's why I didn't want to ask because like it is very like a very like
Not drafted by the team.
so he was not drafted by the team. I don't know how he was acquired, but it was around those years. The last
got my
Winging
answer.
it.
I'm locked in.
Vince, because if I gave the year, I'd probably give it away easily. I
I don't
think
even know if this guy played.
Sean, are you looking?
I already wrote my answer down.
I've
All
heard
right.
my answer too.
I have mine.
Prior
It
to
was
chat.
Kevin Curtis.
Oh my
Oh.
goodness.
He was very good.
Bro, Dante Stallworth.
He was good too.
Denny.
I know.
And then he went to jail.
Kevin Curtis was so good, and that was right when the Eagles were like, elite.
That's when he wore the. I remember him for wearing the blue and yellow jerseys.
Yeah. Everybody wanted that Kevin Curtis jersey.
Yeah. Then
My
he
friend had one. I was plotting on stealing it.
screwed up in the NFC
Scheme.
Championship game.
I wasn't actually plotting on stealing it.
Yeah, you were.
I just
You're
wanted one.
switched up on your mans, just like you switched up on D Hop.
Oh man.
No.
Yeah.
We need to like pull back every clip of him arguing about D Hop being
I
the
know.
best.
Yeah.
Put it in a TikTok.
All right. Questions from the chat. We got one question, it looks like, from Bambo. How good would a 3-stack of Joey Burrow, Chase, and T. Higgins be? Is it something any of you would do?
I would do it.
I would not
What
do
is
it,
I would do it.
but I wouldn't be against someone who did.
Would you have T. Higgins, Jamar, and Joey Burrow?
That
I just
that
don't want to be
restricts your
that
team
invested
so much. Yeah.
into the Bengals game on Sundays.
I don't
Like, they're going to be really good, and like you're not going to go wrong because we saw last year if you did that, you had a top 7 quarterback, top 5 wide receiver, and a top 15 wide receiver. So you had a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. I just don't like double dipping that much. So I wouldn't
Triple dipping.
triple dipping. I wouldn't
I just
prefer
want
to
to
do that.
Mixon.
I've done that in the past, and it has not worked out greatly. It's all right, but you can get more upside from having someone else on a different team.
You need some variety.
If they cap that upside, if it's a low-scoring game or like the Bengals are in a bad weather game, you're in a really tough situation.
I imagine having all those 3 guys at 1 p.m. and they don't do well. Like a quarter of your team's done, and they sucked. And it's like the most important positions.
Yeah, Vince. McNabb did overthrow Kevin Curtis. I went back from that game. I did think it was
Because we talked
PI.
about it recently.
and I went back and watched it just to see if it was PI, and it was not PI. It's just a sad loss.
Marvin Jones.
Vince said, "What Jags wide receivers do we like when Trevor Lawrence is nice?" I don't know if
100%
Trevor Lawrence
Marvin
is going
Jones.
to be nice, but I do think Doug Peterson does help out Trevor Lawrence this year. So I think we could see
Laviska?
some of that. What we saw, definitely not Laviska. I like
Evan
Christian
Ingram?
Kirk the most.
Oh.
Marvin Jones second most. Not Evan Ingram.
Nope.
Maybe
He's
a
a
little bit
sleeper.
Evan Ingram.
He's
He's a
sleeper.
sleeper, but I'm
I
not
should
drafting
drop
him.
him.
Like
He's
dead
someone I
asleep
pick up off waivers.
after his week 1.
Not Laviska. I'm not touching Laviska with a
Laviska.
39-foot pole. Keep him away from my team, please. Done with him.
You would touch him with a 40-foot pole?
No, not touching him with it. I'm not. Get him away from me. Get him away from my team. I'm done. All right.
I have a question.
All right, Matt, what's your question?
If Chris Godwin is on a pitch count week 1, would you instead start Rashad Bateman over him?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
That's-
all right.
If you didn't mention Rashad Bateman and said, would you start Godwin? I would say yes. But since you have Bateman, I think I'm starting Bateman week 1. Personally.
Idiot.
Fuck
Start
off.
him.
All right,
Can't wait
that's
for the
not
week
me,
1
idiot.
preview. The week 1 preview.
I can't wait either. That's a wrap for our wide receiver rankings episode. This Thursday, we will be back with a special trivia episode where we'll be playing a version of Kahoot.
I put it in the
It's called
chat.
Quizzes.
Download the app before it's Thursday.
If you are planning on being here on Thursday, make sure you download the Quizzes app. I don't know if you can also access it online.
You can.
Whatever you can do, make sure you get it, because Q will have a ultimate trivia episode, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And whoever wins has major bragging rights, and we'll shout you out.
45
on
questions. Maybe 50. We'll see.
Maybe 50 questions. It's going to be a fun episode. If you would like to play, make sure you're back here Thursday at 6 p.m. sharp. We'll probably be starting at 6:05. But if you are still here on Twitch, throw us a follow, turn on notifications so you don't miss us when we are live. Throw us a sub on YouTube as well. If you do miss any live streams, Spotify, Apple Music for the audio version, pretty much anywhere you get your podcast. And of course, all social media pages, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. So go follow us there for more content. Just search Super Fantasy Bros. You will find us. Literally Google us. I think we're the first few options there. Don't click on any fake ones. We're the real Super Fantasy Bros. Anyone else out there are frauds. See you guys on Thursday for some Quizzo. And then next week, we got preseason awards show and week 1 preview coming at you. So stay tuned for those. Peace.